Okay, so today I'm doing a little bit different thing. I don't know about you guys, but I love scrolling on social media and finding things that just inspire me, things that I'm like, oh wow, they're documenting family life in a really cool way. And so for the past like year or so, I've just, whenever I see something like that, I kind of save it to a stored folder on Instagram and come back to it later. And I thought today I could use some inspiration. So I'm just going to watch through some of these reels, some of these posts that I've seen, and just share with you what I think is going on, why they're cool, and just kind of, I mean, I've already seen a lot of these, but like react in a sense. So nothing more than just finding some inspiration today. Well, let's get started with this one.
Let's lay in the dead grass, stare at the stars, run away and live out of cars and bars. Let's just leave here.
Yeah, I remember watching that one right after I did all my grandparents' Ireland trip videos and just thinking, wow, that's a really cool thing, like to go and be in the same spot that a family member you loved was once in like years ago and to try to recreate moments. Like I love how they held up the photo, like the printed out photo in those spots. I think that's just a really simple thing that someone can do, but also like a really sentimental and meaningful thing. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Let's do this one.
You're gonna point to things and tell me to take pictures of them. We'll see how cool we can get it.
Yeah, what I love about this one is like it's involving his kid in his creative experience. Like the framing is really cool. Like I think that was what caught me first off was like watching it on a camera, which is something I've done before, and it's really fun to do and not that hard. But I think what is more cool is like he's involving his daughter. Like it looks like they're taking a walk, and he says, "You point to the things that I take photos of, and we'll see what we can get." So like to me, like I don't want to give my kids my camera yet. But I like that idea. Like that inspires me to be like, all right, let's do that with my own daughter. And in that way, it's inviting them in, it's allowing them to be creative while still having like some barriers where they're not going to be breaking your camera and stuff like that. I think that's a real simple way to have some fun documenting family life.
Well, I had nowhere to go. They left me out in the cold. But look who opened the door.
Yeah.
I had to flow through the
Bat like Letterman, pat like sediment. I'm irrelevant, I seek Helen. I reach heaven cause Christ, he settled it, might be.
I love Evan Brandt's stuff. Like he's so creative. I think he's mainly a photographer, but he's so like even when he does video stuff, it's so creative. Like I want to know what he does. He probably uses iPad to sketch this stuff or to write this stuff. But he does so good like with this sort of animation. I think it's cool. But I think even too, like even if you didn't do the animation of these, I think what's really cool is in a sense he's telling his story here, like in this video, like who am I? And then like putting all these, words on it. Like I'm, for me, I'd be like, I'm a dad, I'm a, videographer, like all this different stuff. But then like framing it in a different way. I think that's just a cool way to tell our story. And again, get us creatively thinking about who we are. I think that's just it. Like to me, it almost feels like self-portraits. Like if you look back at artists throughout time, like so many artists did self-portraits. And my guess, I didn't study art, but my guess as to why is like to depict how they see themselves, right? And I think that's something that we kind of miss out on. Some people still do self-portraits, but like I feel like this is a cool way to do a self-portrait in an easy way that I think everyone can do. I feel like a lot of these things that I'm like pulling up are easy ways for people to be creative or document themselves and their family. So I love things like these, like little postcards, because it's like 10-second video clips that you can post on Instagram. We do this for our weddings account. And it just like, it's a different format, so it stands out in my opinion. It's not a reel. It just feels like a short little clip. Like I think that's so cool, and I think it's so easy to do. Like, yes, we'll do this with our professional cameras for our wedding stuff, but I think you could very easily do that with whatever camera you have, whether it be something like the Fujifilm X100 series or your phone. If you're just doing a stationary like shot like this, and then just get 5 or 6 of them and post, 10 to 15-second clips in this format, like, I think that that's a really cool way to share with other people your experience, to share what is going on in your life. Like, I remember getting postcards as a kid, and it was so special to get a postcard. Like, when, my aunt and uncle would go somewhere like Hawaii and like to get a postcard of it, like, oh, I'm seeing what they're seeing. And so, like, to see visual postcards, I think that's pretty cool. I like that. Again, I like this style where, like, you're not seeing a typical post. Like, this isn't a typical post where it's one photo, but like he's got 3 landscapes stacked. And I think stuff like that, whenever I see that, that always stops me on social media. Like, I always stop and look at it because it's different. And I think it's just, I mean, these photos are beautiful, but it's just a unique way to share your photos. There's not much more to it. I have seen people, like, I like the Teton Memories, like, as like the cover photo, so to speak. But I've seen people like write little details in these from time to time. Like, maybe on this one, the person could write like details about what's going on. It's kind of like writing on the back of the photo, like when like our grandparents would like print out photos and they'd write on the back of it. So it could kind of be like that. But I think there's just, again, simple, easy, creative way to share your photos.
100 years. In 2124, we will all be buried with our relatives and friends. Strangers will live in our homes which we fought so hard to build, and they will own everything we have today, including that car you spent a fortune on. Our descendants will hardly know who we were. How many of us know our grandfather's father? After our death, we will be remembered for a few years. And a few years later, our history, our photos, our deeds go into the dustbin of oblivion. We won't even be memories. Maybe if one day we stopped to analyze these questions, we would understand how ignorant and weak the dream of obtaining everything was, always having more and more, without having time for the things that are really worthwhile in this life. I'd change all that to live and enjoy those walks I've never taken, those ungiven hugs and kisses to our children and our loves. That is what life is all about.
I like this video. I mean, how this person like structured it, and the clips are super beautiful, but I disagree with what he's saying. Like, I think his overall point is like live in the moment more, right? But I disagree with what he says, like 100 years from now, people won't remember you. Like, I hope that's not true. Like, I hope that 100 years from now, my family, like my descendants, know who I am. Because I wish I knew about my ancestors more. And I think that's a thing that, like, in our time and age, we've gotten away from. Like, we've gotten away from knowing our ancestors. Like, I look back at, at scripture, for example, and you see like genealogies, right? Like, people knew who their descendants were. Like, they could tell you their great 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 grandfather. They could tell you like the lineage of their family back to Abraham. And I think that's something special, because when you know those stories, you feel a connection to those people in the past. You feel a connection to your own history. And I think, again, like, think about how many people are doing like the 23andMe or whatever those other like genealogy tests are to get an idea of where they come from. Like, I think there's a reason we're doing that. And I think it's because we've gotten away from knowing our ancestors. We've gotten away from knowing our past. And so for me, like, a lot of the stuff that I'm doing today is to leave a legacy behind for my kids, my grandkids, hopefully my great grandkids, and so on and so on. Like, I'm not trying to be arrogant in the sense of like, I want my great 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 grandkids to know everything about me, but I would like them to know who I was and a few things that were important to me, like a little bit of my story, because I think that's special. Like, I wish I knew that of my ancestors, you know?
Go, for the record. Can you say your name and spell it?
Elizabeth Petlin. ELIZABETHPE.
TELIN.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
A doctor. A teacher. Maybe a teacher, a doctor, or a magician. A million things. A waitress. I want to make a student place. A baker. Maybe a teacher.
Open heart surgeon.
Oh.
Open heart surgeon.
Physical therapist. Physical therapist.
Physical therapist.
Physical therapist or nurse.
I think things like this are really easy to do. They take a lot of time, obviously. Like, this is, years. Basically, it looks like this is from kindergarten to high school, right? So kindergarten to high school. So, like, that takes a lot of years to do that. But I think it's so easy and it's so special when you get it all completed and put together. Like, to see this girl going from, I want to be, what'd she say at the beginning? She said magician at some point at the beginning, but then, like, the transition to open heart surgeon to then, like, physical therapist. Like, I think that's cool. And I don't know this person, but, like, I can tell from this video, like, I know that if this was my kid, there would be so many things that come to my mind, like, as I'm watching this. Like, I would remember, like, oh yeah, like, I remember when she was obsessed with being a magician, or I remember that transition, like, when she realized, I don't want to do open heart surgery, but I want to do, like, still in the medical field. And, like, I think about my own story of, like, how I progressed from what I wanted to do in kindergarten, which I think was a zookeeper, to what I ended up at the end of high school wanting to go into youth ministry. Just that progression. Like, I think that's a cool, easy way to document our kids' life. And I think for us as parents, it allows us to recap and reminisce. Like, there are so many things that we would think of when we're watching back on these interviews. And there's a ton of different questions we could ask, like, who's your best friend, or things like that. Because, again, like, I think of so many things that were important to you at those ages that now you've forgotten about. Like, you could ask me who was my best friend in first grade, and I could immediately tell you, but I've probably forgotten a lot about the stuff that, like, the things that we would do when we would hang out or whatever. And so when you ask those questions, they can start to, like, bring up the memories. I think that's just something special, an easy gift to give to your kids. Gotta love a good Captain Kirk. So this is kind of what I was saying. Like, I like how he writes on his photo here. And it's just it's a really easy way that he's documenting his, like, it's a couple of clips, I think 4 or 5. Yeah, it looks like it's just like 5 clips that he's put together of his August, and he put a little description about what it is. And to most people watching it, they'll watch through it. It'll be something they just scroll past. But I think for him, it also is like he's leaving a time capsule in a sense. Like, he can look back and be like, oh yeah, this is what August was about. There's only 5 clips here, but it'll, again, spark memories of other things that aren't pictured here. And it's just an easy way to summarize. And years from now, that'll be so special. Like, because it'll bring back all those memories. So yeah, I think that's a really, really easy way to simply document family life.
This week in Fatherhood, my 4-year-old told me that he would choose invisibility over flight so he could, like, eat ice cream and stuff. When I reminded him that he could eat ice cream now, he said he's actually a little scared to fly, so I told him me too, but that's no reason not to try. This week in Fatherhood, we unknowingly and unceremoniously made the last bottle that our toddler will ever drink. And while I didn't know what I expected to feel, I certainly didn't think it would be tears at not seeing bottles in the kitchen sink.
I think this dude, if you don't follow Blake of Today, you should go follow him. I think this dude does such a good job of summarizing his family's life. And I think people get excited about it because he's doing it in such a creative way. But, like, I just think about him. Like, his kids are going to have an archive of videos of their childhood through their dad's perspective. And that's so special. And for him, he's going to be able to easily look back on these. It's just so cool. But I think what's really cool about it is he's documenting the very little things. Like, he's saying this week in fatherhood, and he's telling you what's happening in that individual week. And I think that's just so special because there are so many things that just go by and that we can miss. Like, I've started carrying around a little notebook, and every day I try to write down one thing that my kids did that just I thought stood out. you know, like, because those are little things that we'll forget about. But again, just documenting it, there's something special about it. There's something special about holding on to their littleness, and like, I don't know. I think it's special. I think the way that he's doing this is super creative, and it's super inspirational for me. There you have it. There's a couple of like ways that I think you can be creative about documenting family life. I hope some of these like are inspiring for you, because they're inspiring for me. And maybe it's not even like trying to recreate some of these, but it's just getting in the mindset to document your family life. And I hope this inspires you to be creative, not creative in like mimicking their stuff. Like some of the stuff that like the framework ones, like, yeah, use those. But like I watch Blake of Today's videos. I'm like, oh, I'd love to do those. But I'm like, I don't want to do exactly what he's doing. But how can I take what he's doing and be inspired of it and do it in my own way, right? So I hope some of these like helped you be inspired and get creative about documenting your family life, because they inspire me. So that's all I got for you today. I just felt like I needed to be inspired a little bit today, and thought I'd share with you some of the things that I keep in a folder to inspire myself. So I hope you have a good day. I'll see you next time.